Just going live now. Hello there and welcome to everybody, wherever you're watching this from. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Martin Cross. This is Cross's Corner. And I have the amazing British coxswain Garry Herbert with me today. Not just coxswain, but voice of British rowing on the BBC and lots more. And we're going to get into that. But Garry, it's great to have you on Cross's Corner.
Oh, Martin, thank you so much for the invitation. I've watched these. I'm always inspired by your interviews with everybody. And it's great. It's lovely to be here. Always a pleasure to sit down with you. My only reservation is that it's not in the olden days, back in the day, as we're prone to say, it's not with a cappuccino banana split, which is what we used to do.
I know. I'm going to miss that at Lucerne this year, I think. But such is life with COVID. Before we kick off, it would be great just to say thank you to our sponsors, Ludum. And as most of you will know by now, Cross's Corner is sponsored by Ludum, which is a training management and performance analysis tool for sports coaches and training groups. And some great news, you can start a free 30-day trial by visiting ludum.com. And it's well worth a look if you're into your training. But now I think we're going to get into our conversation. Garry, you did a cracking job commenting on the recent European Championships for the BBC. What did you make of the championships, and particularly what did you make of the performance of the British team?
It was very weird going back into it, having obviously not done anything last year, and then suddenly we're not only in the studio because we didn't go out, so we cover it all from Salford, myself and James.
How is that actually? We should because I was doing it remotely as well at the same time, but in the studio. How was it doing it in the studio as opposed to?
I don't like doing it in the studio. I always want to be on site. I always want to be on site for a major championships. So, and it's almost a sort of a stale for us environment because we're just in a room, right? Rather than being just alongside you, if we're all out there in the grandstand and you're getting the buzz of the place and the feel, and you're seeing crews coming up and down and warming up, and there's always gossip going around, so you can rise to the occasion when you're at a venue that you can't necessarily do when you're in a booth in Salford. So it's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about how the championships was. So it felt a bit sort of getting back into it after a year out.
Yeah. And so I was, and obviously for Europeans, we cover everything, all the finals, as we're mandated to. So it was quite a busy day. And I will, I think, listen, to be honest, we've always been honest, right? You're honest in all the commentary team. On whatever platform, I think covering the British team, we've always been honest. It was a pleasant surprise that the British team did so well. And I say pleasant surprise because if you look at the data, and recently I've become so data orientated in the wider space of my world and my life, the data in the intervening period from Rio up in the last Olympiad wasn't great for the British team, right? It was a very, so you would not put your money. Well, I mean, you might if you're slightly reckless, but or have a vested interest in someone in the team. You would not necessarily, as an independent observer, say the team is going to come top of the medal podium this time round. Last year, if the games had happened in 2020 as they were meant to, it was, and so a lot of us were really looking at the British team have got an extra year.
Yeah,
what are they going to do in that extra year? Because everybody's got an extra year, but the team were coming from sort of behind the curve, if you will.
Yeah, they were young and going to get better. Yeah.
And so they needed, so you had a lot of maturity or in other countries already there, harder to stay on your top of your game. And the youngsters, that's a very condescending phrase, but the younger team were coming through, very few senior experienced. And it was how were they going to use that extra year? And as we can see, they used it really well. It was phenomenal and great, right? It's brilliant. We have to be. It's very slight digression. I recently did some impartiality training, as we all have to do for what they call talent at the BBC.
Yeah.
So when you're on the front screen, so and we had to do impartiality. and there was constant referral on my session to it was the sports presenters and commentators, and the guys that were leading it, were continually coming back to me and referring to my Olympic commentary, because I kind of lose it a bit, I think, in the Olympic Games. I lose it a little bit.
Isn't that what everybody loves about you?
And that's kind of like, well, okay, hands up. I'm sorry, but I'm excited, right? I'm always excited. I'm excited at the World Cup. I'm really excited at the World Championships, and I'm off the scale at the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
And so long-winded, I think the team are back in a good place. That said, it's a Europeans, right? And a lot of the world champions in the other events are still to come. But really great, fantastic for the team.
Yeah, that impartiality training, are they trying to say you should treat all nations the same and not focus so much on the British performance, or not sound excited when Britain does well, or what sort of impartiality?
No, they're not. They understand, right, at the Olympic Games, and because this goes out, our commentary goes out predominantly the UK, right, and so it's mom and pop. And we could talk about a whole load of the stuff on the commentary on the viewing if you want to, but we go out to a UK predominantly mom and pop who don't know an awful lot about rowing, right? Yeah. So we have to be impartial in that. We can't just talk up the British team all the time. Not that I think we do.
Yeah.
And we have to be cognizant of other things going on. And then there's the other side away from the broadcast, right? So if somebody is tweeting something, I mean, don't get me started on Twitter, but if we've got to be very careful how we as professional broadcasters interact with athletes. So for me, interacting with the British rowing team, I suppose it's across everything, how we interact with I appreciate we've gone off piste here. If an athlete, and particularly now because we're looking at the Olympic Games, right? So it's not just the rowing, it's the Olympic team. If somebody in the British Olympic team tweets something of a view, how we interact with that. Are we allowed to interact with it? How we interact with it? How we... and the BBC are very, very aware of that.
Yeah.
But, so that's why from our little rowing sport, we're being drawn in, particularly this year, because we sit in a little island in the Olympiad, the World Championships, the Europeans, and the World Cups. But then all the tributaries come together, which is the great thing about being part of the BBC Olympic broadcasting team.
Yeah.
Everything comes together in the Olympic year for the Olympic Games. And so we're under a greater scrutiny.
Yeah, I mean, top line of the Europeans was Glover's performance with Polly Swann in the pair.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sweet to commentate on, I guess.
It was really, and look, yes, it was. And they did a great job, right? You go out, you win. But you can't talk them up to, right, they've won the Europeans, they're going to win the Olympic Games, because they beat the Spanish, which was their closest rivals in the competition. But what was it? There was 4 other nations obviously not there. Gold, silver, bronze, fourth, right? So you've got to be. So it's brilliant that they did what they did, and they're a great pair, and they've obviously had form back in the day when they were world champions, European champions together. But we had to try. You have to also just be aware that you can't overdo it. You acknowledge the result, but then you have to be aware that we can't position. Not that we did. You can't position to say right, yep, gold medal in the bag come Tokyo.
Yeah,
and they won't do that personally.
Has the performance of the British 8 made them favourites for Olympic gold, do you think, so far?
Yeah, having said everything I've just said. Yes. Yeah.
You think they are?
Oh, without a doubt. I on a number of reasons, right? They in the 8s in the division in that category, Great Britain have got some of the strongest athletes, power athletes, right? and then they can. It's like Jurgen's legacy, right? Jurgen has set them all up. He set up this amazing men's team and women's team.
Yeah,
we're talking about the 8, and then he's handed it over to Steve Trackmore, who is a great coach. I love Steve. Yeah, a lot of time for Steve. We go back a long way.
Yeah.
So Steve has just got to finish them off, which is not easy. But they've got the toughest guys, the strongest guys in there. The Americans, bless them, they've got such a history of breaking the world record. I'm saying that in a flippant way, right? In the heat, yeah, and then coming last in the final.
Yeah.
Right. They go out and win the heat and then go straight through to the final. They sit around all week, maybe having cappuccinos and banana splits and talking to Martin Cross, right? And that gives everybody and that gives everybody else, with Tessie and on all that lot, right? So that gives everybody else to get their stuff together and realize, actually, we need another race. We need the rep and then come back. So I would say, from a men's 8 perspective, the year, if I was going to put my some chips down, the men's 8, I would say I've got to be a favourite, one of the favourites. Yeah,
it's interesting. We had a chat with James Rudkin, and he was definitely like pushing away the favourites tag.
But that's what they're always going to do, and rightly so, right? We have the joy of speculating and chewing the cud amongst all of us, right? Who and why, and positioning of seats, and who's going to do a good job, and who are going to be the favourites in the challenge. But that's our job, that's our role, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in the boat, all you're going to do is make sure you have that today is a good, 5:15 on a Thursday. Their main concern is that today's outing and today's gym session and whatever other sessions are the best they can be. And that's all they're concerned with. Behind the back, but in the dark recesses of their minds, they must be thinking, okay, we keep all this together. Quietly. They're driving back from Caversham. No, don't tell me no one's thinking, we could do all right here. I don't believe that, because we've been in that position.
Yeah.
Right? There's the PR press side.
Yeah.
And then there's the sitting in traffic or sitting in your bath at the end of the day thinking, you know what? Yeah, this is a good boat to be in.
Yeah. You've had a really close relationship. Oh, you've had 2, 3, because we worked together for a short time. But you've had 2 close relationships with co-commentators. Currently, James Cracknell, Crackers, and before that, sadly missed Dan Topolski.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your relationship with Dan and Crackers and how it's similar, different, or? It's
different, but it's so with Dan. So let me very briefly go back before that, right? When they asked me to get involved, when they asked me to become a commentator, I said, well, I can only do it, if I can choose to the co-commentators sit beside me.
Yeah.
Because I need, back in the day as well, I need to have that wingman that I can guarantee, I can really rely on, that brings all the other colour, and that's why I chose you.
Yeah.
And then we had our time together, and then Dan was at the time the best next person to come in, right? And I love Dan. I love him, but because I have benefited in my life by being around brilliant people.
Yeah.
Brilliant people around you, around your dad back in the day, around the rowers, the Searles, whatever, right? And the other members of the team. So if you surround yourself with brilliant people, you go forward with them. And Dan had a passion like you. If you have a passion for something, that's what you need, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I talk about all the time. A passion will outdo any kind of, save for brain surgery. I mean, you don't want to wake up in the middle of an operation and see me grinning down at you. Because that can be, well, I'm really passionate about this. I really am. That's bad, right? But if you have a passion for something and you bring the constituent parts of the pie together, and Dan had a great passion and a deep knowledge.
Yeah.
And he was around the boat tents all the time, like you, speaking to athletes, getting the goss.
Yeah.
And that's what you did and do. That's what Dan did. And that was amazing. So I always felt that he was there. He had his stuff as well. James, I love dearly. I mean, James is gosh, he's basically a law unto himself, right? You know, James will sit down and he's a gunslinger. So he shoots from the hip and he'll say what he wants. And so, because Dan and you are broadcasters, Dan was a broadcaster. James is not a broadcaster, right? So we sit down. I mean, they've given up on us now. I shouldn't say that, but you know. All right, here's the structure. This is the roles. This is what you have to do so far as you can do it. Okay, there's a lot of technical. It doesn't appear to be technical, but there is a bit of technical stuff behind it. Yeah. James over his head, right? Because James will just, if he sees something, he'll say something. And I love the spontaneity. I love the passion that he has, the honesty, because he's honest. Now we all know each other because the BBC set up, or rowing commentary is very set up for ex-athletes. There's a lot of ex-athletes. There's not like ex-athletes and then professional broadcasters in there, right? We're all ex-rowers, coxes and whatever, right? Coaches. So there's no one central linchpin who is the professional person. So it can just so with him, he brings a raw honesty to it. It bugs me that he calls the race at 500. Let's get to 750. Let's get to 1250 before you decide who's won, right? He's decided who's won, or he's called who's won at 500 gone, right? And it's like, James, that might be the case. Let's just build up the story so that we get to the 1500 meter mark, and now you can call it and you can refer back to whatever. So it's a very honest delivery from him, but it can be frustrating working with him because he'll just sit down. He literally sits down, headphones on, and will talk until the pitchers stop. Yeah. And then he gets up and it's done. It's gone from him, right? It's absolutely gone. Now, you and I, we could be in the airport on the way back or wherever, right? And chat about it and stuff. He's not, it's gone. Yeah. But he will talk to the guys, the athletes, you know, whether on the women's team and the men's team, he will speak to them and want to, you know, talk about the race on that side. But he's, it is an interesting thing working with him. It really is. Yeah. I gather that, I mean, you know, you're not going to get the chance to chat with the athletes, you know, because I know you're doing the Lucerne World Cup again from Salford, but I gather you're doing doing the Olympics also from Salford. That must have been quite a decision for the BBC to take. Yeah. I mean, that was, let me tell you about, and I love I'm very grateful, and I've loved every moment of what I've done. I've been hugely privileged, right? It just goes to show, you can pull the wool over a few people's eyes for as long as you know. So in November, December, and I'm not talking out of school here. I hope not. I don't know. I might get an email in a minute saying that I have done. So you get an email. I love the BBC emails because they come from the top and they explain everything, and you go round the houses and you're whatever, and you get to the. So there was like 3 or 4 paragraphs of an email sent to myself and James, and explaining that, you know, if the Olympics go on and their contingencies and stuff, and presentation is going to be done from Salford. I was like, oh, that'll be upsetting for them. And then the rest of the commentary team, 50% of the commentary team is going to be going to Salford. 50% of the commentary team is going out to Tokyo. You're in that 50%, right? Yeah. That was a long email, right? And the only line that was of relevance to me was whether I was going out or staying. Yeah. And that was right at the end. Great. Because you want to, you know, the Olympic Games is everything, right? So I was so happy. And because there's a lot of rowing. They want to get a lot of rowing on. Yeah. And we're in the middle of the night and there's a ton of stuff. And I was like, great, at least I'm going. Then they sent an email a couple of months ago. Where are we now? April. Yeah, a month or so ago, maybe a bit more. Same thing, right? Long email explaining because the IOC had given their playbooks, whatever playbook they'd got through. And as a result of that, this was happening, and that was happening. And then there was a bit of restructuring. And the long and the short of it is the 50% of commentators that were going to that that were out in Tokyo and now coming back to Salford. That was one of the worst emails I've ever read.
Yeah.
I was like, bugger. Because the Olympic Games, we're going to be, we go out in the middle of the night now. So we're on air at 11 o'clock.
Oh, God, really?
And we get off air at 3 in the early part. So it's the night shift of the Olympics from Salford. And there will be a buzz. There's always a buzz of when all the commentators come together and all the presenters. But now we're all in Salford. I don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to be there's a couple of hotels, as you know, next to the BBC building. So I'll be falling out of there at 3 o'clock in the morning, going back into, it's a night shift. And it's going to be very different because I've been doing my DJing, as you know, over the last few years. And I set up in the second week, to keep me out in the second week, a couple of gigs to stay out there, right? Because as soon as you're done with the BBC anyway, you're out, right? And I wanted to stay in the second week. So I'd been setting up some DJ gigs and whatnot. And now that's all gone as well. So, disappointing.
Garry, people, I know about your DJing, but I guess people watching this won't know. Do you want to just talk briefly about you as a DJ?
Yeah, when I got to the ripe old age of 27, I thought, well, I can have a midlife crisis, or I could do some really constructive things on my bucket list, and I had the opportunity to do that, timing-wise. And so, one of the things I wanted to do was I love music. I'm passionate about music. I love music, the business of music. I love the creation of music. And I just wanted to immerse myself in the music business. And one way to do that was also just to do some DJing. And I got and I always wanted to do something on a big stage, just to tick the bucket list off, right? In terms of there's nothing that you can't do, save for brain surgery, right? So other than that, there's nothing that you can't do. And on my bucket list was to DJ. And so I went to, I spent some time at a academy in London, London Sound Academy, whatever it's called. And the thing with that was, it was great. You do this course, and at the end of the course, they get you a gig at the Ministry of Sound.
Wow.
Come on, right? So that was my bucket list. So I was going to do the Ministry of Sound. Then I want to do a couple of festivals, because they then get you to do that. And then from there, I was going to do some stuff at the Olympics. And it was part of my, there are no horizons that you can't do mindset. Yeah. Right now, if I can do what I'm doing, and also I find I get great therapy out of music. I find it hugely, hugely therapeutic. And here's the thing, right? In terms of, I have my list of bucket list stuff, right, which I wanted to do. And but also I wanted to use that. So now I'm in an environment on the music business side of things, rather than coming in saying I would like to do X, Y, Z. You have a connection. You can talk. So I do a lot of work with a company called IE Music, advise them on various things. And I've got a good relationship with them. And if for anyone who looks up IE Music, they look after Robbie Williams, right? Yeah. But because I was able to go in and develop a relationship, that I had a passion in music, and I was doing this DJ thing, and they were all fascinated, right? They were all right, that's great. So you set yourself apart, and that's what I've always tried to do, set myself apart.
Yeah.
In stuff. And I thought, you know what? The one way to stay out in the second week and have fun and tick some boxes, because I kind of do it quietly as well. I don't make an awful lot of song and dance about it. Wouldn't it be great to do a DJ session in the Olympic Village, to do a DJ session for a sponsor or whatever. So I was talking to Oakley. I wanted to do Oakley House.
Oh yeah.
And then I was doing talking to someone in the BOA to do London House, or whatever they were going to call it, right? And that was going to keep me out there and do a couple of other things, and just say, you know what? If I can do this, there's nothing that you can't do. If you write it down, make a plan, follow it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my DJ.
Wow.
And I wanted to. We obviously with COVID and the circumstances there, I wasn't able to do Ministry of Sound.
Yeah. That's amazing, Garry. I mean, it's interesting following the pattern of your life, because I want to get into the coxing now.
Yeah.
And the story behind that that race in Barcelona, that partnership with the Searles.
Yeah.
I know you got into coxing, you know, at the school we both went to, Cardinal Vaughan, and my dad was instrumental in that. And then you were with the under-23 team.
Yeah.
How did it happen, that transition through for you as a Cox into the senior team? And then what about the partnership with Johnny and Greg Searle that led you to that unforgettable race?
Yeah, it's amazing, right? Because let me just put on record here, I owe my life, rowing life, and everything that's happened to me has happened because of you and your father, right? Everything.
Thank you.
Nothing. And, you know, there have been emotional times when we've spoken about it over the years. And you know, the passing of your dad back in, you know, a few years ago now, but was just, I felt like I lost a father myself. But that aside, you get all that 92 stuff, right? And all the getting into the team, it actually started back in 87.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, right, about the journey that you join the dots, but the dots get joined down the line. You know, the famous sort of Steve Jobs approach. When you bring like-minded people together, it's so powerful. So in 87, I got into the junior team. Dan helped me on that, right? He wrote a reference to get me, because I've been doing some stuff with Oxford and helping them out on training camps. So now I'm in a group in 87 with Johnny, Tim, Johnny Searle, Tim Foster, Matthew. He was in the junior 8 with me.
Matthew Pinson.
Yeah, Matthew Pinson. And then, so you're kind of then in this little band, right? And then you kind of come up through the under-23s, or then you're all coming up together then into the senior squad. So then you're on the periphery. In 88, we were on the periphery. Johnny, myself, and a few others were all on the periphery of the team. So then as you go forward, because you've formed a great bond with these people over the years, then when the opportunity comes for you to be tested, well, you've got the trust, right?
Yeah.
So I got into the 8 in 91, having spent 2 or 3 years coxing these guys on the periphery of the team through Molesey Boat Club or Leander Club, were my 2 clubs. So that when the opportunity comes, it's not like, well, who's in the room? It's someone that you've done your time.
Yeah.
To have that opportunity to then perform. And so in 91, when we all came together as a haphazard group in that 8, we all had history together. And in the past, at various regattas, we'd all raced together and performed, whatever that.
Yeah.
We might have come last in the final, but we outperformed our own expectation, right? We didn't fall in, or all that. And then that bond. So coming into 91, when we were all in the 8 together for Vienna, we had what I thought was, a bond there where I believed in 91 we were going to go to the Olympics in 92 in that 8.
Yeah.
And then so then when fast forward, when they decided to do the pair, because I'd coxed them the year before, we'd got a bronze with you, which again, bucket list tick.
Yeah.
To win a medal with Martin Cross, wow, that's a dream. And Happy Stanhope as well, who I think was in the bow. Right?
Richard, hi if you're watching, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, I took years and years to break that guy down to win his trust. And I think it took a bloody bronze medal at the World Championships at the highest stage in a great race. And then also in that boat was Tim Foster and Singfield and Phelps and all that, right? And so we broke that down. And so when it came for them to do the Coxed Pair, this is them saying it. There's somebody coming in here now. Sorry. This is them saying there was only one person that was going to cox it, and that was me.
Sorry.
Nora, we're doing something here. Are you?
I'm sorry.
This is the problem. This is the hub, right? So everybody comes in here. That's Nora there. Out.
I'm trying to find some tissue paper.
Okay, but there's not in here. No, there's none in here. Okay.
Sorry.
So it came to a point where you've done all your hard work, right?
Yeah.
you've done the time, and you've won the respect, that there was only going to be one person to do that. That's them saying it, right? Now, I wasn't available because I was in the 4. I was in a group with you guys. And so we had to do a bit of shenanigans on that. So it was all, I got into the pair not because of anything I did in 92, but because what I did between 87 and 92, and specifically in 91.
You had this particular relationship with Johnny and Greg, which kind of almost transcended anything that you were doing as a Cox in terms of, you know, technical approach or calls. Do you want to talk about that? That relationship, because in part that relationship is what made that race so special. Yeah,
I think that we were on the same. We just clicked into the same wavelength, right? We all wanted the same thing. Okay, include Steve Gunn in that, obviously our coach, and we committed that if we all want the same thing, there has to be a respect across everybody. Because if any one person has a down day, that's a detractor from the final. Obviously the goal. So and we just had this amazing bond that where if I said something, they did it or they believed it because I truly believed it. Right. So we were having a good piece or a bad piece or whatever to turn things around.
Yeah.
And it was able to deal with the here and now. This outing, this piece, this stroke, this 1 minute part of and then look at it in context of the journey, you know, particularly in the last few months, and just show that, you know, we can have wobbles and whatever, and it's going to be okay. And I was the adopted brother, if you will, between the two of them, and we just had this amazing ability to race. And I love racing. I love racing. I love the fight of it. I love being in a fight on the water, being in a dog fight the whole way to the line, right? And you're sitting, and this is what we had at Molesey. This is what we have now with the leg ends, right? And this is what we had in the 91 boat, but for whatever reasons, we ran out of puff. Not that I don't think we were ever going to beat the Germans in 91, but we had that do or never give up, never, ever, ever give up, right? And if you align yourself to like-minded people, then you have that respect. That's an amazing respect. And that's with that, you are in a situation that a trusted situation, it's a privilege. So you've got to use that respect the best way. And that's what I was able to, we had this thing. We're still tight today, right? There's nothing I wouldn't do. But well, that group, there's nothing I wouldn't do.
Didn't they, on training camp in Silveretta, they very pointedly got a bed out of another room, put it in between them and said, you know, you're sleeping this is a 3 in this room, not a 2.
Yeah, we had they lost out on the bed wars in the room. On the room, I mean, the politics of it back then, because bearing in mind, right, they had won the trials, so they were the fastest pair in Great Britain at the time. They beat Redgrave and Pinson in the pairs final trials at Nottingham. So they felt that they had dibs for the better room, right? But you know, the powers that be outdid us. And our argument was there's 3 of us and 2 of them.
Yeah.
I think it's the only time I've ever been prepared, being put alongside Redgrave and Pinson as a barter tool. And so I can't remember who the team management was there in 92.
Brian Armstrong.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, he was the main guy, wasn't he? So he said no, and we said fine, that's okay. And these rooms, as you know, are box rooms. So we got a bed, and it was the funniest thing, right? Because I think David Tanner was involved as well, wasn't he? He was around at that time. Yeah. And we got a bed from another hut, and we said no, this is all part and parcel of our prep. We have to be together, right? Eat, sleep, row together. And which I think that was it. So we got a bed in, and we put 3 beds in a room that just about had enough room for 2 beds.
Yeah.
And then, but we came around the corner thinking that we were like, management were waiting for us around this part of the hut. So we kind of came around as they were coming the other way. And then we brought it in. And just as we brought it in, management were like there, and they'd come and sort of sussed us out. But we got into the room, so that's it. We're in. So it was eat, row and sleep together in the lot, so that we were totally bonded all the way through to Barcelona. But that's the kind of madness that we felt that we had to have, right?
I remember the night before the final, you coming up to me with great conviction in your voice and saying, you know, Martin, if we're within 5 seconds of the Abignalis at 1,000 meters, we're going to win.
Yeah.
And 5 seconds, I think you were about 4.8 or whatever. But your conviction as a Cox, I mean, I could be quite comfortable saying without you in the coxing seat that they wouldn't have won that race. In terms of a Cox making a difference to a crew, because, you know, from what we've talked about in terms of the unit. Do you want to talk us through your coxing of that final?
So we've done a lot of, we did a lot of, we knew our times, okay, on the various parts of the race. And we knew that the Abignalis had one race in them. In the last few years, they'd had that one race, you know, they get to the final and then they pull out this thing where they just go. And so we knew all we had to do was stick to, if we could stick to 1,000 meters and hang on to them, we knew by doing our big finishes in the second half, because that was it, that we were conditioned, that racing spirit would kick in. So as long as they didn't get too far ahead of us. And that had shown, we'd shown that where we practiced a couple of third 500s where we just metal down, right? Pedal down and flat out till we kind of fell out of the boat. So we knew, and they knew the pain of that, right? What it felt like. And we did a bit of this in Varese, the pre-Olympic training camp. But here's the thing, and I use it today. I mean, rowing's so many lessons that if you go on the step-by-step journey to, and everything just slots into place, and yeah, there are wobbles, but reduce the noise, get rid of the noise. So for us, by the time we got to the Olympic Village, we were just right. We knew what we were doing. And then by the time we got to the final, it was like, this is it. This is, now we may be bigger, stronger, or weaker, but we know one thing, we've got a race, we can pull a race out. Yeah. So we get to the 1,000, and to be honest with you, you get to the 1,000, and they were, it's interesting you say there was less than I thought they were ahead. They pulled out quicker than I thought they were going to go.
Yeah. So what's going on in your head through the first 1,000?
So through the first 1,000, I'm now thinking, okay, they've gone too fast, too quickly.
Right.
But they've got enough space that all they're going to do is hold on. And I thought that's fine. We've got 500 meters. We've got a thing, what we called our big thing in the middle part. Let's worry when we get to 1,500 meters. There's no time to worry. You know, what's the point of worrying at the halfway mark? Because we can still dictate. And so I was calling where we were. And here's the thing where it's kind of like an entrepreneurial thing, right? It's kind of like when you approach certain things, you put yourself out on the limb. As we went through 1250, I remember looking to the lane 2. We were in lane 3, and the Romanians were there. And I thought, oh, bugger. I haven't mentioned the Romanians. I'd just been calling the Italians. It was just the Italians, Italians, you know. You know, they're going away at 500, they're a length, 750, they're 2 lengths, whatever it was. You know, they were going out to 3 lengths. The Italians, then going through 1100. Right, now we've checked. Now we've checked them. Now because we did something going through there. Now, if we've checked them, they've got no more speed. And words to the effect. Now, you can believe that or not. Right? But we don't have time for you not to believe it, right? Because this ain't happening again.
Yeah.
So you have, and because we had the trust. So if I said that we checked, then okay, we must have checked. We must have checked them. And then we're going to do our thing around 1200, 1250. We came out, and now we're 2 lengths down. Right. Now we're 2 lengths down. I've said they've checked. We're 2 lengths down. All we're worried about now is the 200 to 1500. That's all. That's all. Go faster to the 1500 meter mark in whatever structure we had. And again, You can believe me or not, right? But we don't have the time to question this or argue this. We never ever deviated from our race plan. Never.
Oh, really?
Not any way up to 1500. And I think around the 1500 meter mark, I became aware of the Romanians, and then I didn't mention the Romanians. I'm pretty sure I did not mention the Romanians, because because at the moment we're in a 2-boat race.
Yeah.
Right. The 6 boats. We're in a 2-boat race, and for us it's gold or nothing. Gold or nothing, because that's the mindset of that idiot who sat in the bows, right? And Greg as well, right? Idiot boy who sits in the bows. For him, it was all about the gold medal and all the demons he carried. And
we're talking about Johnny Searle, guys.
Yeah,
by the way.
Johnny. Yeah, and I guess you know the demons in somebody, and you can manage that person's demons so that the power comes out at the end of the blade. So I was able to, and it was a magical moment, right? It really was. I was able to link the mind to the blade to the performance.
Yeah.
Right. And you can, for a boat that wasn't as powerful as everybody else, to be able to do that, for all of us to come together, is what happened. And then we get to 1500. I still think we're down. I looked at the Romanians and thought, well, what's the point of if I mention the Romanians, we are distracted now.
Yeah.
Now we have to fight to get through them, to get into second place, to challenge them. And it was just right. Let's just call the distance down and make sure the speed is coming up. There might have been a little bit of white lies going on. I don't know. There was a lot of psychological talk. Not that in the kind of vein of Any Given Sunday, that movie.
Yeah.
Not that in any way I was inspiring like that speech that we all know about, the Opportunist speech. But it was a lot of, right here, guys, look at the journey. Because you can, in the Coxed Pair, it's going so slowly inside the boat.
Yeah.
You do have a bit of time to tap in, to talk on that. You don't have time to argue and say, shall we, should we, will we, won't we? But you have time to remind people and say, look, we are on our little journey here. Nobody, and I think the press had said, if we do well, we could get a silver medal.
Yeah.
If we reach, so there might have been well, who are we? What do they know? And so there's but we had lines for that, whatever they were. And so Romanians gone 1500, and then it was just right. Count. We've got 50 strokes. We've got whatever it was, 2 lengths to come down, and they are not. And then you kind of call the demeanor, right? So then they really are kind of down in the boat. You can see the boat sinking in the water. You can see their heads. And then I think Giuseppe Di Capo wasn't making an awful lot of his gesticulating of his, which he was renowned for. That started to go. And I think, okay, right. And then it was just like, you know what? So you get to 1750, 250 to go, and we're still in our race plan. But we're stepping up. So it's race plan and being professional to execute that, with the tapping into the psychology of, right, okay, yeah. And I don't think we never mentioned that it was going to be painful, because when the boat's going well, you don't feel the pain, right?
Yeah.
He says. When the boat and the team it's just beauty, it's poetry. And you talk about being in the zone, and we were in that last 500 meters, we were in a zone that nobody. Slight digression, right? In the warm-ups, we would go down the warm-up lane. The Germanate would come right behind us. We should have been getting out of the way, right? But we never got out of the way. We never, right? No, we're going to finish our piece or our paddling. And Greg would say, no, stay, hold, let them go around us. And bearing in mind, these were the world champions from the year before, right?
Yeah.
Or that whole Olympiad. So we've got a mindset that we were in the zone. And when you're in that zone for that 500, nothing touched us. So you're tapping into that, and you get to 1250. And I might well have said we're running out of water, but you've got to be careful, right? Because you can't say anything negative.
Yeah. So
running out of water, got to go now. Overlap, running out of water, got to go again. and then you're talking to them, right? You're talking to them. The rating goes up, and then it's just like, right, we are now. I see the line. I see the line. I see the medal. What color? That's you. That's you now. That's whatever you do now on this stroke. It's gone. This stroke, that's gone. That's 2 strokes. It's gone. Right? We were so on the strokes, and to be honest with you, I didn't know. We came up level. I didn't know whether we came up level just before or just on or just over. Because at that point, you're just racing. You're not racing. I think I might have mentioned it once. In fact, I only mentioned once the color of the medal, right? At that point, all you're doing is trying to win a race. That's it. That's what I remember. All we were trying to do is win a race, right? Because everything's happening so quickly. You've just got to, right, we've got to win. We've got to do whatever we can. And okay, tap into the mind, a couple of strokes, come out of that into the technique, into the power. Into the mind, technique, power. Power. Now it's power. Now it's power. Now it's all power. And now we're in the hands of the gods now, right? So we're 10 strokes out. 10 strokes out, we're right, let's have 5. With 5 out, let's have 2. And at that point, they could see, right, we're coming up level then, right?
Yeah.
So everything I'd said, because remember, most of it, they were in front of us.
So
you can't see anything. All you can see is puddles there. So they're thinking there's lying git. But as we went down the track, stern starts coming in, or the noise first. So you see puddles, then you hear noise, then you see stern, then you see stroke man, then you see level, and then the buzzer went, right?
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, I think we knew going over the line. I think we knew going over the line. Just that was how it went.
Wow. And you got very emotional at the medal ceremony.
It was an amazing time. So let me tell you about the medal ceremony, right? And God, who watched rowing in '92? Yeah. Who watched rowing in '92? Nobody, right? And so you don't see any cameras. You're in the moment, and we had everything burst out. The one thing that you're living and breathing. I remember, from 14, I started out having watched you in '84, and suddenly I'm on the same podium, not the exact same podium that you were on.
Yeah.
Right. That Adrian Ellison was on. Wow. But me, from Cardinal Vaughan School, I didn't go to a big public school, rowing school. I had to fight my way all the way through, fought it into juniors, under 23s, into Leander, into the squad. And now, here we are, just 3 of us on this incredible journey that we'd had. I didn't see a single, not that you're looking out for it. You're not looking out for it. But we stood there, and you still see it now, right? As I'd only ever watched the Olympic Games, and the flag goes up for Seb Coe, Steve Ovett, Daley Thompson. Heroes, right? Wow, I didn't know them. You don't go down to Sainsbury's and meet these guys on a daily basis, right? these are these, and suddenly the flag is going up for your team effort, and it was just this amazing culmination of this amazing journey and it just, gosh, you get a bit emotional.
Whoa.
You let rip, but you don't see any cameras, and then after that, it all started coming back to me, or people saying, "Oh, you're all over the TV at home." I didn't know. My parents were in the grandstand. That was all. That was really, but they were there and saw it. So I was, You can't. It's as you know, it's an undescribable feeling for a sport like ours, right? Where we're not in the spotlight. We're only in the spotlight once every 4 years, really. Yeah, and then suddenly we are in the spotlight. And my Olympic gold medal, wherever it is the same color. It's got the same ribbon as the American Dream Team basketball.
Yeah.
Yes. That's pretty cool. I think that's quite cool.
Yeah.
It's the same color as Carl Lewis, Linford, all these big names that were superstars, right? But my little medal, our little medal, it's got the same ribbon as the dream team, stuff like that. And that's just like, you know what? Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah. How do you see yourself as a Cox, Garry, in terms of, the skills and abilities you've got? Because I know, you went on to Cox the British A in that Olympiad up to Atlanta, and didn't have the same success. How do you see yourself as a Cox, and maybe compared to others around, or so on? What do you bring to the table?
You bring the same level of passion that everybody else has. You bring a level of mentorship. You have to be a mentor, a coach. You have to be a coach that's outside the box, because that's what Jürgen was when he kind of came over here, right? Jürgen Grobler, right? He brought a system over, whereas I wanted to win as much as they did. Like it meant a lot to me, but also I had a great desire that things that I said, I wanted to have an instant feel back in the boat. So you are a mentor, you are a coach, you are a motivator. And then you try and inspire people to believe in themselves when they don't believe in. Sorry, I'm just going to have to text upstairs because it's all kicking off upstairs. You have an ability to be a counselor and a consigliere to somebody. Yep.
Yeah.
So say, okay, why? You don't feel we're going to do well today? Why? Show me why. And look at all this stuff. And actually, here's some stories. Here's what happened in these situations. But you need to have all the stuff behind you as well, right? You need to have the platform behind you as well. But I equally, if not more, want to win than anyone that sat in the boat with me.
Yeah. When you are commenting, on the commentaries you've done, as in the Olympics, let's talk about Olympic races, are you in effect coxing crews towards the finish in your commentary, or are you doing something different?
I try to do something different, but invariably I get lost in the race. And when you get lost in the race, I know the feeling of being up. I know the feeling of being down. I know the feeling of having a high benchmark and not achieving that. So the disappointment. I know I get hit, right? If I say, oh, they'll be disappointed with that bronze medal, and then people say, oh, they got a bronze medal. Duh. They are disappointed with the bronze medal, right? They are. I'm telling you now, okay? Because here's the reason. They've got £35 million, whatever, for this Olympiad, yada, yada, yada. There is an expectation from all these bodies. There's an expectation from the athletes themselves. They set high expectations on themselves because they've told me, right?
Yeah.
So right now, in the heat of going over the line, when they look up and they see the scoreboard and they are third, fourth, fifth, they're disappointed.
Yeah.
All right. So I look, I can't. You start the race being professional. You try to do a professional job.
Yeah.
And as the race develops, you get further and further involved in the crew, whether they're up or down, and then you get to a point where you really want them to win. Because I know from more of a distance now than before, but I know the sacrifices that they've put in, and I know the heartache, good or bad, if they don't get over the line at that moment. And you only ever want people to. I only ever want people to win. I want all the boats to win. You can't, but I'm a bloody romantic, Martin. Yeah. But I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to be dispassionate, because obviously in that last 100, that 250, in the Olympic Games, when our whole life's work is coming together, and you see the boat coming together, and then you see a boat rising or a boat falling, and I want to pick the boat up, and you just get so passionately involved because I love the sport, and I love the sport because of what I've been able to achieve because of it.
Do you have a few favourite or a favourite race where you think I was right on the money there, or this is the commentary I'd like to play at my, going out funeral or whatever? Do you have any races like that?
I've got to say, there's a couple of races. I would say Sydney, Steve's race and the eights race.
Yeah,
because you get a feel, right, of it flowing. Yeah, because the race is flowing, and I had a great, every so often, I used to say, Steve, when's the big push? What are you going to do? Right? So he'd say, we're going to push here. So I'd say, watch out for the 4, right? They're going to push here.
Yeah.
Then they push. Oh, how I look good on that, right? Right. So, with Steve retiring, that's all gone, right? And then obviously Jürgen shut me down. And so the 4s race because it flowed, the 8s race because it was spectacular.
Yeah.
And then I think the women's double in London.
Why is that? Because you had some good lines on that. Are those lines are spontaneous? They're not sort of
don't write anything
beforehand.
Down. Don't write anything down. Don't write anything down. I try to visualize how the race is going to go, but these are the stupid things like clean-ins and having the breaks at the 500 and 1,000, as you know, right, at the 1,500 and picking it up. But other than that, because look, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, and I don't know how this is going to. Let me let you into a secret here, right? When I started commentating, we do a professional job.
Yeah.
We do a professional job. We try to do a professional job, right? Because we do it with the BBC, and there is a high expectation. I'm not a professional commentator. I'm not. I can hold my own, right? I think I'm a reasonably safe pair of hands. But what I said was, this is what I'll do. This is what I think I can do. Not sit in the commentary booth with all the others. I mean, and you kind of do this in the way saying, I'll position myself as if I was in the stand, the grandstand, surrounded by friends and family, and surrounded by people who know nothing about rowing.
Yeah.
And who are jostling, what's going on? What's going on? What's happening? What's happening? Why is it? What? Someone's moving. Why are they moving? Well, because they're their favourites that are moving, or when they're in lane 1 of the wind. So I try to convey a passion. If people are around me in the grandstand and they're saying, "What's happening? What do you think?" and get excited for them, and rather than be a professional. Again, I've got to be very careful. I try to do a professional, but rather than be a traditional commentator. I always think of myself as in the grandstand, not in the commentary booth. And that's what I said day one to the senior guys within the BBC. I said, look, and I know there are plenty of people wanting to do the job back then. I said, this is what I'll try and do. I can bring the passion that I am as a person and a little bit of insight and get people excited and bring them along the race. And hopefully, come the last 500 meters, the last 250 meters, we're all standing, and we're standing in the way of the commentators and Martin Cross down there who can't see because we're all in the grandstand, and Martin's like, well, I can't see anything because there's a whole load of idiots in the grandstand, it's getting in my way. And that's what I try to bring to it, and I think that's a very different approach. And touch wood, I've survived. It's got me to this stage.
Yeah. A couple of things, Garry. One not really connected with rowing, but I guess it's to do with partly, your drive and the sort of person you are. I know you used to work for Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
And there is a legend around in Goldman Sachs that you cold called Goldman Sachs, which isn't supposed to this isn't supposed to happen. No. But do you want to just talk us through that little story of the man who one morning or whenever it was?
I used to be a barrister I was a barrister for 7 or 8 years, whatever it was, and various things were happening at the bar which I didn't approve of. Not approve of, but the way it was going. And I sat in my chambers one morning. It was one morning. It was literally the Friday morning. I remember it. And I said, look, I've had enough of this. And because also I was having this kind of realization as a barrister, you win, lose, and draw by yourself. And I'm not a single sculler. I'm not a single scholar. Yeah. I'm a team player. I'm a crew player, and I miss the team environment. And so I basically, and I talk about this when I talk to people. I had a list of I put down what my strengths are. What are my strengths? What I believe, what I honestly believe all my strengths were. I put that in a list, and then I put down what were the top 5 companies that I would love to work for. It's not work, just work for. Forget the role. And Goldman was the first one. I think Disney was the second. Then IMG. I had a lot of friends at IMG, the sports management company. I can't remember. There's a couple of others, right? So then I went and I thought, well, what do Goldman's do? Because I knew, we've got friends that work at Goldman's. Yeah. I've never spoken to them about what they do. Never, ever. And I found a division. I literally looked on the website. I found a division. I thought that division looks quite good. And I wrote down 2-3 lines. This is who I am. This is what I do. Love to come and talk to you. And I rang up and I said, can I speak to the head of the division? Which is unheard of now. You can't do that. I got through to the head of the division. I said, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. Can I come and talk to you? You get it out before they put the phone down. And the person said, what? Here's my email. Email me. I was like, yes. Now I've got an email. So then my 3 lines became 3 paragraphs. And I sent an email in saying, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing now. This is what I'd like to do. Love to do it with you. That was on the Friday morning. Then the Friday afternoon, early afternoon, I got an email back from the person. It's literally, these are Goldman emails, right? CV, please. Well, thanks very much for your email. Yeah, really lovely to connect and hear whatever. Go to the website, CV, please. And I thought, oh, shoot. I don't have a CV. I've been 7-8 years at the bar, right? So then I knocked something together. I sent it to a friend of mine. Said, don't ask any questions. Because you don't tell someone you're unhappy. You do now, right? But back then, okay. And I said, don't ask any questions. Don't talk about the content. Just look at the format, right? That's it. They came back and said, yes, all right. So fine. Sent it in. And then sent it in mid-afternoon. And then at 6 o'clock on Friday night, I got an email back saying 10 o'clock Goldman on Monday morning for an interview. And I cold called them. And I was in that year, in 2005, in my induction class, globally, when I went to New York, there was, let's say, 65 people on the course, inducted globally in the division. I was the only person without an MBA. And everybody was standing up around me saying where they got their MBA. And I'm not having great MBAs and stuff. And I stood up and I said words to the effect that my MBA comes from a little place in Banyoles that I earned back in 1992.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So,
make that call. So my message is, because I'm a coxswain, right?
Yeah.
So as a coxswain, you make a call.
Yeah.
Right. As a commentator, you call anything. I'm not Matthew Pinson. Matthew Pinson, the phone rings off the bloody hook, right? I've got a phone out. Yeah. I'm assuming it rings off the hook. Bless him. Make the call, right? Why are you waiting? Why was I waiting so long in chambers for someone to call me? No one was calling me. So make the call. And I've learned a big, massive lesson from that since. But that's because I was a coxswain, right? Yeah. I've made calls before, and the calls I made before worked. Some of them didn't work, but some of them did. And the ones that were important worked. Yeah, not many people cold call Goldman Sachs.
No. So, Garry, let's come full circle. What do we think of Tokyo and prospects for the games, and actually as an event, and and maybe?
So, as an event, I just don't know how they're going to hold it, right? So, we obviously know there's no foreign spectators, right? So, aside from the general supporters of the Olympic Games, the friends and family of competitors aren't going to be able to travel, which would be gutting, because the friends and family, that's their real highlight of the sacrifice of everything that's come before, to go to the Olympic Games, to save up, to go and watch, right? That's gone. Now Tokyo has gone back into another state of emergency. The numbers are not looking good in Tokyo at all, and more importantly, the vaccination rate is terrible. Yeah. They're not vaccinating, right? So what are they? So if they isolate, they're going to. So I don't, from a structural, I've still, it's been mandated to go ahead, right? Because it's politically driven, it's financially driven. The sponsors of the IOC are demanding. The IOC will lose too much money, right? So it has to go ahead. So how they do pare it all back and do the athletes, I don't know how they're going. One person, two people come down with it. That's going to could wipe out teams, could wipe out events. But so I don't know. And I read something the other day saying they've got to they've got to start thinking about what happens if very soon.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So back to the British team, I think the men's 8, I'm excited. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. I want the men's 8, the British men's 8, the German men's 8, the Americans, and the Canadians to be level to 1,800 meters and be in a world of pain. From a spectator's point of view, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I would want them to be in a world of pain, and absolutely, so that whoever wins it, and I do think it's in the hands of the British 8. I think the women's lightweight double scull, really excited about that. Really excited about that. Men's 4. Yep, looking forward to that. And I think there is a medal to be had in the women's team somewhere between the women's 4 and the women's pair.
Yeah. I
think they'll wait to Lucerne, but they may end up packing out the women's 4, which is what I like to see. Because we talk about back in our day, right? They would never have done an 8 as the top boat.
Yeah.
Never. But hey, why wouldn't you do an 8? The great thing about an 8 or bigger boat is you get more medalists, rather than those greedy idiots in the small boats. Shouldn't say that. But put everyone in a big boat, get more medalists, right? And I know that's very simplistic to say that. So I like to see the top boat. I always like to see being the bigger boat.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that worked out well in Rio for the men's side, because the 4 was the top boat and 1, and then the 8 just had this great mix of people. So I'm more. There is a gold medal, or there is a medal in the women's team. I think it will be in the 4.
Wow.
I just know, or unless the pair, because what we saw from the Europeans in the women's pair was that, and what they lacked, because they hadn't been together and the years of training, in the miles in the bank, is the speed at the beginning and then the speed at the end.
Yeah.
Right. They came under a lot of pressure at the end. So people will have learned, the other countries will have learned from that. Whether they get out, they're going to have to get out quicker, go quickly, and finish quickly, right?
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do in the Olympic Games. So I think there's a good medal in the women's team. There's a top medal in the women's team. I don't know what boat it's going to come from. I will know more after Lucerne.
Yeah. Because
obviously we've got the first World Cup regatta this weekend coming, but the British team aren't going to it, so we're not covering it. So I'm a lot more positive here today than I was this time last year. If it'd been normal, in normal circumstances, if we were running into Tokyo from this time last year. I'd have thought, there's a bundle of bronze medals if we're lucky.
Well, Garry, we've been talking for over an hour now. I think we could go on talking for many hours yet. There's probably lots of things we haven't touched on, but we can hear you next on the BBC in 3 weeks' time. You and James talking about Lucerne Regatta.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure to listen to you. There's so much about your life and career that we could have touched on that we haven't. But it's been wonderful to spend time with you. So
my pleasure. Privilege is mine to spend any time with you, Martin. The privilege is mine, and you are responsible for a lot of people's careers. And again, can't thank you highly enough. But and it's fun. But it's always good fun. But so hopefully next time we see each other, we'll be outside together.
Yeah,
having a banana split and a cappuccino.
Okay, so we'll end the live part of this broadcast now. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've taken something from it.